Hey folks, welcome wherever you are listening from. My name is Kalu, and this is an X space with me. I call them Money Spaces. We're here every Sunday, 7 p.m. West African time. Of course, we're talking money, the economy, and of course, personal finance. How does the money topic you hear about all through the week affect your personal wallet? And this week, we're just going to dwell 100% on personal finance around the topic of debt, right? Because debt has sort of come back into the discussion, especially back home in Nigeria, right? What is debt? How can we use debt? What is good debt? What is bad debt? What is APR? What is a credit score, FICO? Let's just have a brief intro, and of course, you can ask questions, and we'll try to perhaps, give our opinion on the questions that you would have. So I'm just going to go straight into it, right? So, what is debt? Usually, the way I describe debt is front-loaded consumption, right? If you borrow from a bank, essentially, what you're saying is that you're going to make income down the road, but you want to use that income you're going to make down the road today. So that process of you borrowing is you consuming income that would have come down the road. This means that if you don't have income coming down the road and you borrow, then that's not debt. That's really what we call bad debt, right? Good debt is you have income, or you have an invoice, or you have property, or you have an investment that you own, and you're going to monetize down the road. Even income, you earn a salary, that's income to you, but you're going to monetize the bulk of your incomes in the future, right? But you want to spend today. So you borrow today and then you spend today. So you front loaded that consumption you'd have done down the line. When you front load that consumption, you create a hole in the future, which means that income you have spent today, there's now a hole in the future. And how do you cover that hole? You cover that hole with income, either from your other businesses or from the income from that investment that you made. So front-loaded consumption as debt, and you cover that hole that you have created by the proceeds of that debt. Maybe you invest the debt to get income to cover it, or you take as your salary going down the road to pay back. So good debt, right, is debt that the returns you make from borrowing is higher than the cost of the debt. For instance, mortgage. You borrow, say, 10 million to buy a house. You just use 10 million, you build a house, right? The equity, the asset value, the savings on rent, because you own your own home, is now larger than the cost of that debt that you borrowed. That's good debt, because the returns from what you invested in is far superior to the costs of you borrowing those funds, right? So that's good debt. So what is bad debt? Bad debt is essentially you borrow, you consume, but the returns are either non-existent or cannot cover the consumption that you have made. And I give an example as well. If you borrow on your credit card to go to a holiday, say in Greece, right, or any country that you want, and you lose your job, what has happened? You have consumed from the future today. So you front loaded that consumption, but you have no means to pay back your credit card. So what has happened? You've created a hole that you can't pay back, and that debt is running. So the cost of the debt is more than the utility, the holiday that you got. So that then becomes debt, and if you're not careful, it becomes a debt trap in that the interest payment now supersede even the principal, and you then go down, of course, this rabbit hole of you not being able to pay. So that's debt, that's good debt, that's bad debt. How do you measure debt? When you go to the bank, the cost of you borrowing is usually your interest rate. Interest rate. The best rate you should ask for or the best quote I want you guys to understand is APR, the annual percentage rate. When you say interest rate, that's just the cost of borrowing the money, right? But the APR tracks all associated costs to that debt. For instance, management fee, legal fee. This is not part of the interest rate per se, but the APR will capture it. So when you go to a bank and they say, oh, wait, the interest rate is 5%, always ask them what's the APR on this loan or this debt that you're giving to me. That calculates the true cost of that debt to you. So your APR or your interest rate is the cost of that debt. That's how much income you're going to pay back to service that debt, right? Over the year life of that debt, right? And how do you get a loan? Usually you pull a credit score, or the lender would pull your credit. Essentially, they're trying to see how, should we say, how good of a borrower are you? If you have a track record of borrowing, then of course you can borrow at a lower rate. So debt is a regressive measure. The more you borrow, the better a borrower you are. So if you have a lot of cash and you don't borrow, it sounds silly. You have a very, very bad credit score. Credit score means that they want you to borrow, and when you borrow and you repay on time, and you keep your debt utilization low, then your credit score goes up. It's a bit opposite, right? That if you don't borrow, you don't get a good credit score. And that's your usually called the FICO, your Fair Isaac score. That's how credit is measured. And debt, I like to measure debt with your APR, right? And then the last topic I'm going to talk about before we take questions, because I don't want to just keep on talking, right, is different stages in life require different types of debt, and different activities require different types of debt. So not all debts are created equal. Your credit card, for instance, is a very, very dangerous kind of debt, but it's a very, very useful kind of debt. When you swipe your credit card, you have 30 days, zero APR, irrespective of the credit card. It could be 20 days, it could be 30 days, but you have a calendar period, usually the month, that you can borrow those funds from the credit card company without paying any interest. That is 30 days, which means if I have an obligation that I want to spend money on and I can swipe my credit card for 30 days and I can pay back in 30 days, then credit cards are the best way to borrow, right? So I want to go on a trip. I'm going to get paid next week. I swipe my credit card, I buy my ticket, I go for my trip, I come back, I get paid, I clean back up my credit card. So I pay to the credit card company 0%, zero, irrespective of the APR listed. So it's 0%, right? So that just tells you that is a good way to borrow. I don't want to go to the bank and borrow, because if I borrow from the bank, I pay them interest the day I take the borrowing. But what if I'm a company, if I'm an individual and I want to start up for a company, where should I borrow money from to start up my company? Should I use my credit card versus 0% APR, or should I go to a bank to borrow, or should I go to my family and friends? Let's talk about all three. If you use your credit card to start up a company, it's only 30 days. So after 30 days, you're going to owe the credit card company. And that's the highest APR anywhere. Credit card companies usually charge you double-digit APR. So 22, 25, and all that. So you don't want to use or put debt on a credit card. Should you go to a bank? The same thing. Banks' APR is lower than credit card companies, but banks are still short-term. You don't start a business borrowing from a bank, because banks are going to charge you interest from day one. And of course, your company will not make returns or sales from day one. You're going to set up, you're going to hire people, you're not going to sell immediately, so you don't want to borrow. Remember what I said, debt is front-loaded consumption. So if you're consuming today, you want to pay back tomorrow with income. But if you don't get that returns, quote unquote, tomorrow, then you've created a hole. You are essentially working for the bank. So what's the best form of borrowing that you can use for your business if you're just starting out? The answer is no borrowing. You want to start out your business using your own equity, so no debt. You start off using equity, which is patient capital, which is the profit and loss, and then you use borrowing for your working capital. Let's say someone gives you an order to supply goods, you want to go supply, you're going to get paid back in say 10 days. Then you go to the bank and you take an overdraft, you supply, the guy pays you, you pay back the bank. So different types of debt, different types of solutions. Personal finance is very different from borrowing for the business, and you want to watch the APR, because that's your cost of borrowing. You want to keep it as low as possible. I remember what was said, borrowing is front-loaded consumption. So the idea is that if you borrow, you have income coming down the line to clean up that debt. If you have no income, you shouldn't be borrowing. No ifs, no buts, no I am suffering. If you have no income, you shouldn't be borrowing. All right, folks, so that's my talk. I can go on for 2 hours on this alone, right? If you've got questions, I would love to hear them. And most of these topics, I have a book, right? It's titled Let's Talk About Your Money. It's available on Amazon. I do a lot on debt, not just telling you what debt is, also talking about how to get out of debt. We're just going to take a few guys that want to speak. Once they speak, I'm going to go back and then we can talk about how to get out of debt. What do you do? What is the process that you can do, right? If you want to get out of debt, you are basically in a debt situation and you want to get out. What are the steps? Because you want to do it properly, I'll give you those steps. Real quick, let me go to the DMs. Kalu, hi, could you please go over the APR thing again? I didn't get it. Yes, I will. The interest rate is the cost of the loan. So if you go to the bank gives you, well, if you borrow $1, we're going to give you at 5% interest rate. That's your interest rate. But there are other costs associated with your loan that are not interest bearing. For instance, mortgage, for instance, legal fees, management fees. These are all costs of that loan that are not interest. So what the APR will do is to capture the total costs for you so that you know, okay, if I hear 5% APR, I can compare bank to bank or lender to lender. So you don't compare interest rates, you compare APR. If you want to borrow, you ask this bank, what's your APR? Then you compare with another bank and get their APR. Then you can see which is lower or which is higher. If you simply borrow on the interest rate, there are hidden fees which you might not capture. But if you borrow or if you ask them for what the APR is, then they have to disclose essentially everything. That's what I'm saying. Ask for the APR to just stay on the interest rate. Don't want to compare like for like. Yeah, Did you good question. Second guy is asking if so, but I shouldn't go to the bank to borrow for my startup. Yeah, if that's what you're asking essentially. Yes. So remember this, right? A company has got four distinct life stages. Every company has four distinct life stages. You have your growth, where your idea. So you have the idea stage where you have this idea that you want to have a TV station that will show 100% financial news, right? That's your idea. After the idea, you have your growth stage where you are growing very, very fast. You are expanding, sales are booming, you are growing fast, you're hiring people, you're making a lot of profit quickly. Then you have your maturity, then you have your decline. All those things need different types of financing. When you are growing very, very fast, you are making zero income, but you are growing your market share, you are growing your users. So you are spending all your money to expand. If you go to the bank and you borrow, how do you pay back when you are growing? Because you're going to take out cash and pay to the bank. That cash could be better used to expand your business. So you want to use the bank's credit for working capital in and out, not to grow the business, right? If you want to grow, you can do a term loan from the bank. So you tie it to a particular project over a long period of time and then you pay. But to use a credit card or to use bank short-term borrowing to grow long-term business growth would expose you to interest fluctuations and payments. Remember, you don't have cash when you are growing. You have the idea, you want to expand, so you're looking for equity, profit and loss, family and friends, seed capital. You're looking for patient capital that will stay with you as you grow. That's what you want. So be very careful about borrowing at the very beginning of your life stage. I've got Imanovich, how you doing?
Hi, good evening.
Hey, what's up, man? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I have a very short question.
Go for it.
So, from the economic perspective, would you recommend someone to take loan just to have disposable cash at hand at all time?
Interesting. I would recommend like all the time, right? You want to have an emergency fund, right? Like Vex money, emergency fund, right? And there are many ways you can have this. If you have a credit card on hand, that gives you say 30 days emergency fund. If you have a line of credit open, line of credit means that the bank says you can spend in excess of this, but we don't charge you until you borrow. That's also good. Why are they good? Because you have the option to spend, but no cost immediately. So if I have a credit card in my wallet and it's for say $10,000, I have the option to spend 10,000, but I don't get charged until I spend. Same with line of credit, I have that option, that flexibility to spend, but I'm not being taxed. So you've got to have the discipline not to spend if you have that option. So I will always say, yes, have your emergency fund built up with your savings, but it's always a good idea to have credit, especially a business. I mean, the most important credit for me for a business is going to be your line of credit, where you can easily go get the line set up, not when you need the money you go. Get the line set up before you need it. Line of credit means an overdraft limit. The bank says you can spend X amount of money, so you just transfer from your line of credit to your checking account. So that's going to be very, very useful for you to pay, say, salaries or to do a transaction that is time bound. So I would always recommend, if you are a business owner, go to your bank or try to get an emergency quote unquote fund for the business. Line of credit is very, very good because they don't charge you until you borrow. And even when you borrow, they are charging you per day. So if you clean up after 2 days, then you've stopped your interest payments for just 2 days. If you take a term loan, you're going to pay back for the whole 30 days once you take it. It's not dependent on how long you've used it. So I would recommend a line of credit or for the business, right? And if you own your own home, if you're in the US or the UK, they do HELOCs. If you own a home equity line of credit, also might also be a good idea to take a line and just leave it open. You don't have to draw down, but you have that opportunity should you have something come up. So yes, the answer to your question is yes. It's possible to use debt as an emergency fund, but be very careful what kind of debt you're covering. If it's long term, don't run your credit card on it. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Excellent, sir. Go back to my DMs. Kalu, I'd like you to go through what's it? FICO score is your credit score. FICO simply means Fair Isaac. That's just the name of the company that runs the credit score, right? And the way it works is, if I'm a lender and I want to essentially see if you're a good borrower, I run your credit. And yes, Nigeria does have credit scores as well. We have about two or three credit companies in Nigeria. And I heard a guy, we were talking about mortgages the other day. Yes, Rio, we do have credit companies in Nigeria. There was a guy that was saying here on the space that he took his score from Nigeria, was it to Canada? And they accepted his score from Nigeria to apply for a mortgage in Canada. When we had our mortgage talk, a guy said it here on the space. So we do have credit companies in Nigeria that do run your credit. And what are they doing? Credit scores are basically, I would say, there are four or two main things they want to see. The FICO, for instance, wants to see, number one, how do you pay back your debt? So if you pay back your loans on time without delay, that's almost 35% points that you get, say out of 100 if we use point system. If you pay back on time without delay, that's about 35%. Then if you have a loan, say a credit card of $1,000, and you use less than 30% of that, that's under 30% right there. So you just taking a credit card, paying it on time, and keeping your utilization below 30%, you're already at 65%. How long you use your credit card is 10%, and the types of credit use is about 10%. But if you just focus on paying your card back on time and keeping your utilization below 30%, you are already at above pass mark. Many Africans, many Nigerians that travel abroad and Japan, we're not used to credit. And we start off with this idea that credit is bad. That's how we are taught over here. Oh, don't borrow, don't owe anybody money. But when you go to the West, credit is how you are scored. I see most folks in Nigeria, especially Nigerians that travel abroad, they save to buy the car, they save to buy the house. I get it. They're trying to be prudent. But I'll give you advice, right? If you want to buy a car, if the car costs $10,000, give them 9,000 cash, take the credit for the 1,000, just so it runs your credit, just so it's on credit. You have the money, Abby, put the money in the bank, do an auto pay to service your credit card debt every month. You wouldn't even know what's happening, right? But that $1,000 running in your credit is going to take your credit score up, because you want to use utilization 35 and how you have essentially paid every month on time 35. That's pass mark right there. Why do you want a good credit score? Because you will want to buy something bigger in the future. Maybe you want to buy a house, right? Then your APR, the higher your credit score, the lower your APR. So the most important number in the United States, you have many numbers in the United States. You have your address, your zip code, very, very important. You have your social security number, very, very important. But the most important number to me in America is your credit score. Because the higher your credit score is, the lower you can borrow. So you and your colleague can go buy the same house, but if he has a higher credit score than you, he will pay lower for the same house than you. So you want to do everything you can to build that credit score. And it's pretty easy to build a credit score. You walk to the answer. How do you get a good credit score? Number one, you want to get income. You want to show you have income. So you have income going in. You go and take a secured credit card. Write it down. Secured credit card. So you go to the bank. Most credit unions do this, or most banks do this. Ask them, do you have a secured credit card? What does that mean? You give them your cash, they give you a credit card. They might not pull your credit because remember, every time you pull credit, it dings you downwards. When you go to those stores and they ask you, oh, we have a 10% sale. If you apply for our card, we give you 10% off your goods. Say no. Every time you pull your credit, it takes you down. So you want to be very strategic about where and when you pull credit. So you take a secure credit card, $500. You don't have to do 1,000, just take $500. So now you have a secure credit card. What do? Buy gas every week, buy coffee every week. Just use the card once. It's not what you spend, it's how you pay back what you spend. So you buy gas, $40 every week. You buy it on Monday, you pay back on Wednesday. Shikena, that's all you need to do. Your credit score will go up. That's all you need to do. Take the credit, pay it back, keep the utilization below 30%. Why should you do it early? Because it lags. If you start credit in January, you see it in, say, March or April. So the faster you do it, the better. So if you live abroad, you want to get credit. Don't hear all this. No, it's their country. That's how they set it up. You follow. When in Rome, do as the Romans. Don't bring any church and say, no, myself should not borrow. You borrow the credit card, you use it, you pay back. You don't carry over debt. Remember, the APR, the interest on the credit card, will be zero if you pay back within the calendar or cycle date. So there's no cost to you on that credit. Get the one, get the credit card that gives you points. So you get miles or you get gift cards. Get the one that gives you points. So as you spend, you're getting points. So it's free money, right? Free money. Great question. So back here again, I'm going to talk about how to get out of debt. That's going to be part two. Don't worry. Let me just answer this question. I'll come back to you on how to get out of debt. Let me see. Yeah, okay. Do you want? Yeah, we've talked about that. We talked about APR. APR means your annual percentage rate. That's the cost. So we talked about that, right? Let me see. Oh, yeah. So can you what's the line of credit is in Nigeria we call it overdraft. Or in America they call it line of credit. So when you hear line of credit, it simply means that you went to the bank and they gave you an overdraft limit. So if your account is say 10,000, I can tell you we're giving you an overdraft of 20,000, which means you can spend up to 20 in excess of the cash you have in the bank. Then the bank will only charge you interest on the difference between what you have spent, right? They only charge you that difference. They don't charge you if you don't spend. So if you don't use the line, they don't charge you. And like a home equity line, which is going to be the line that is taken off the equity of your home, that can sit on your account for like 10 years. So you have that line open for like 10 years. Emergency fund right there. You don't have to touch it, but if you touch it, you didn't pay. I know folks in the US and the UK that take lines of credit when interest rates in America were like 1%, 2%, and they came to Nigeria, converted their dollars to naira and built real estate in Nigeria. then used the high rent income in Nigeria, converted the money back to dollars. This was in the good old days when you could convert like that. They converted the naira back to dollars, and serviced the line of credit that they had in excess, because they are going from a dollar currency to a naira currency, spending in naira to build a home in Nigeria, getting rent in naira, converting back to dollar, and of course paying off not just their lines of credit, but also making a huge income. Why? Because it was the naira dollar rate was still stable. So you could do that locking. You could lock in Nigerian rates, you could lock in US rates, and make a big arbitrage spread. I'm not sure now if that's possible, because now HELOCs will charge you anywhere from 8%, 7% to get a HELOC. And even if you bring it to Nigeria and you build a house, are you sure getting your dollars to take back out of Nigeria? So that trade might have gone, but I know lots of folks that did that and were able to get that business going up in Nigeria. This is why we need stability. If there's macroeconomic stability, you can do all that stuff. Remember when we had those cards? I used to have my UBA card, and I could use my UBA card in America. You don't even think about it, and it was just use it. It was pay everything in naira. So you put naira in Nigeria, and you spend dollars in the US. That was when we were balling. Now we're not balling. So sorry. Okay, back to DMs. Yeah, can you talk about? Yeah, let me. So lots of people are asking about this. Let's talk about how to get out of debt, right? Let's assume you are already in debt, unfortunately. So you have a lot of debt, private debts, public debt. What's the process to get out? So you want to do this right, and you want to take it down as I'm writing it down. I'm going to give you the steps. So the first thing you want to do is you want to list everything that you owe, everything that you owe, OWE. You list all your debt. Very important. You list the APR on those debts. So you say, I'm owing Kalu 1 million. I'm not going to pay him. He's my guy. I'm at zero APR. I'm owing the bank 10,000, 12% APR. I'm owing the credit card. List all the debt, and you categorize it by APR, right? When you do that, right, I want you to write everything now down according to highest to lowest, highest APR to lowest APR. So now you have your full list of who you owe. So the first thing you want to do is you want to call everybody that you owe, and you want to look for a deal. So you call the bank. Before you do this, you have your money to pay. You call back and you say, hey, I'm owing you guys this amount of money. Is it possible to have a walkout? Can I pay you this to clear the debt, or can I negotiate this to clear the debt? Ask the bank. Be careful. Ask the bank, be clear that if they give you a write-off, it shouldn't go to your credit score. Because if they give you an accommodation, sometimes it goes to your score that you got an accommodation, and lenders don't like that. So be very careful. Ask them about that. Be very clear so it doesn't have any negative impact on your score. If they say, sure, you can pay this and clear out the loan, take that first of all before you go further. Just take that deal they give you. If you call the health company and the health company says, if you pay this amount, we'll write off all your debt, take that deal first of all before we go further. But let's assume you've written down all your debt and you now do not have any deals. How do you pay them? There are two methods. One is called the snowball, one is called the avalanche. I always confuse which is which, so please bear with me. I believe it's the avalanche. You start off with paying the smallest. I could be wrong. I always confuse both of them. So what you do is when you list all those debts, you start off with the debt with the lowest amount. Lowest amount. So you want to have a quick win. So you say, I'm owing 10,000, I'm owing 1,000, I'm owing 10 naira. You pay the 10 naira first, right? You pay the 10 naira, then you work your way up to the big ones. So the idea is that you pay the small ones, then you take the money you have saved and you pay the next one. You walk up that list. You clear off all those debts from the smallest amount to the biggest amount. The advantage of this is that you have an instant win and you can see progress immediately. You can say, okay, I've cleared this debt. When you clear the debt, you don't spend the excess money you save. You take the excess money back and you pay the next debt. So you just keep on doing that, keep on doing that. You can have a plan or program. Say, I'm not going to spend, I'm not going to buy any car, I'm not going to go on a holiday till I clear off my debt. That's going to be for you to do. So you do that from the lowest debt to the highest debt, and that's the advantage. The other one I believe is the snowball. The snowball is, and I apologize if I'm mixing both of them, but just let me give you the principle. In the first instance, you are paying off from the lowest amount to the highest amount. In the other instance, you are paying off the highest APR to the lowest APR, which means when you write out all your debt, you wrote out your APRs, the cost of the debt, you want to pay the ones with the highest APR, not the ones with the lowest amount. Why is that? Because the ones with the highest APR are costing you more. So that means that if I have a $100 credit card and I have a 100,000 personal loan, because the credit card has a higher APR, than the personal loan, I want to pay off that credit card first. So when you look at your debt, you won't see any quick wins, quote unquote, because you still see the big amounts there, but you're paying off the ones with a higher APR first because you want to reduce the cost to your budget. So you go APR to APR. Even if it's going to take you a longer time, you are actually reducing the cost to your balance sheet. I actually like that one better because it makes more sense. There's no point paying off the lowest amount. If my friend borrows me or lends me 100 naira, he's my friend, Abi. I can talk to him, I can, beg him, but I can't beg a credit card company. They will need their money or they report me to the credit bureau or to collections. So I'm more interested in making sure I get out of debt, expensive debt, than paying off the small guys first. You have to be quote unquote greedy, right? Pay off the expensive debt first before you pay off the lower amount first. That way you are releasing more cash into your balance sheet, into your cash flow statement that you then use to pay off the next most expensive debt. That's what you want to do. Those are the two methods. Number one, list out all your debt. Number two, call and see if you can get a deal from your companies that you owe those debt to. If you have no deal, number three, I prefer you pay off the debt with the highest APR first, or you can pay off the debt with the lowest amount first. But I prefer highest APR first. That way, you're releasing cash and you're helping yourself, right? Debt is, I think the Jews that the same word that they use for debt is the same word they use for sin. I think the Jews have that. The same word that they use for debt and borrow is the same they use for sin. Debt is a big deal. It can kill you. Literally, you can worry about debt and die. So don't treat debt very casually. You've got to be very, very responsible with debt, right? If you don't have income, don't borrow. If you want to take a gamble, don't borrow. If you're not sure of the outcome of the income, don't borrow. Don't borrow for, let me just put this way, very simple as I can. Don't borrow for non-income generating activities. It's very simple. If you do it that way, you are 90% of your problems are literally gone. Don't borrow to buy a car that you're going to drive yourself. Yes, you can borrow car loan, I get it. I'm talking about the Nigerian method of borrowing. When we borrow in Nigeria 4 million to go and buy a car, it's different from how they borrow in America to buy a car. In America, they borrow and they pay monthly and they have a non-recourse loan. So if they don't pay, you take the car. But when you go borrow 4 million in Nigeria to buy a car, you are owing 4 million. They're going to be charging you on 4 million every month. It's 4 multiplied by your APR. That's what you're going to pay every month. Even if you return the car, you are still owing 4 million. There's a recourse loan to you in Nigeria. So be pretty careful. Don't look at the way credit runs abroad and try to do it in Nigeria. It's not going to work. The West has a credit system, Nigeria does not. So in the West, you are actually encouraged to borrow. And if you look at your balance sheet, borrowing actually helps you. You can borrow to buy, and on the balance sheet, you're boosting your assets. If you are younger and you are borrowing to buy assets, that's a way of beating inflation because you are buying those assets today and then you are paying them back in inflated dollars. But in Nigeria, it's different. You can't do it in Nigeria. If you borrow in Nigeria, the interest rates are very high. So you are basically, even though you are enjoying the assets, the interest rates that are so high take away the utility from you. Let me explain it again this way. If I want to buy a car and I live in the United States, the car is costing, say, $10,000. I can borrow that car and pay over 7 years at, say, 5%. So the actual cost to me is that 5%, not the 10 grand, the 5%, like a lease to me. If I can't pay that car back, I give them back the car, I walk away. So I sort of have a window to escape a debt trap. The same in Nigeria might not be true. In Nigeria, if I go to the bank and I borrow, the interest rate is going to be about 23%, double digit, which means the cost to my balance sheet is excessive, which means that car must generate income or save me money in excess of 23% per annum. So it's either that car is a delivery van or Uber, which I don't advise you do because you're not going to monitor it. But if the cost of you going into a bus is going to be less than the cost of you borrowing at 23 to buy a car, then you want to ask yourself, should you really buy that car? I know many guys that put money together and buy a car to go from, say, Ikeja to VI. That's what they just do. They buy a car and the car is owned by 4 people. They go from Ikeja to VI. It's their car. They just go to work and back. It's cheaper than buying an Uber. So 4 of them own the car. Toyota Corolla. If you divide it 1 million, 1 million, it's 1 million. But if you divide that 1 million over the years, they actually save money. There's no APR cost to that. So be very careful about debt, about going into a debt trap. I saw last week a microfinance bank giving Nigerians APR of over 200%. Over 200%, 19% a month, 19% APR a month. That is not a loan. That's slavery. You should not, in any instance, take that loan. I don't care what it's for. 19% a month is not a loan, it's slavery. Those loans are designed to trap you in a debt trap. Then you have to pay the fees to get yourself out of that debt trap. I'm shocked that those loans are allowed to exist in Nigeria and by a microfinance bank. The microfinance bank laws state that microfinance banks it's in their law. They are for the poor, the vulnerable, and women. Then I don't blame them though, because the same Central Bank of Nigeria issues guidelines on how much loans should be in Nigeria. And the Central Bank of Nigeria says that loans that banks issue is regulated. So banks cannot charge over a certain amount for loans, APR. That's for commercial banks. But then it goes to microfinance bank and says you can charge whatever you like. And it says that microfinance banks are to address only the poor. I tweeted it, so if you go back to my tweet last week, you'll see that I copied the CBN law and I put it right there. You cannot, in a country like Nigeria that has an endemic level of poverty, allow a lender to issue loans at 19% APR a month, which means about 223% APR per annum. There is no justification for that loan. How can they put that loan on their balance sheet and justify it anywhere? It's unconscionable. So that's not a loan. That is still staying today speaks more to the regulators than to the microfinance banks, because microfinance banks they're a company that want to make money. I don't blame them. The law said they can do it. But why are the regulators allowing them to do it? How do you borrow at 19% a month and have utility? Explain that one to me. I don't know. Choose about how you doing. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Good day, everyone. I just wanted to concur about the microfinance loans. The thing they do is they don't let you know it's per year. They don't tell you it's 23% or they tell you it's 19%. So you fall for it. You understand? It's only way that a bit finance oriented, sometimes they even tell you it's even as low as 10%. I'll tell them it's not feasible because that's lower than the NPR. Well, I don't really, but it's not even 10%, it's actually 120%.
Oh, gotcha.
Because it's per month.
Yeah.
So they can even come around and tell you very low interest rates like 10, 8, 9. But meanwhile, it's times 12, but you wouldn't know, and they won't tell you unless you probe down. So that's what they do a lot. And maybe because sometimes they don't ask for too much collateral, they just feel.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's easy cash to get.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. These are loan traps because a long time ago, we talked about loan sharks on a Twitter space. I also wrote an article. It's very easy to get those loans. You simply you download the app, you apply, they give you the money. But they're giving the money because they know you can't pay back. They know there is what we call ability to repay. And I know American banks have ability to repay rules. I didn't know Nigerian banks had it. Like research, and I saw yes, Nigerian banks also have ability to repay rules. It basically says that a lender cannot lend out money if they believe the person that they're giving the money to cannot pay back. It's in the microfinance laws. And it says you should not lend if you know the person cannot pay back. Yeah, those microfinance banks saying that they believe a Nigerian can pay back at 200% per annum. It doesn't make any sense, Chizoba. And again, you're right. I think the whole idea is lack of should we say financial education. That's why I did in this space today. I saw that and I said that we had to talk about interest. I specifically did it about that microfinance bank. And that's what I'm asking, telling people about this APR. Don't ask for the interest rate. Ask them for the APR. By law, they must tell you the APR. And if you don't understand it, ask them for a repayment schedule. They have to give it to you by law so that when you get this, you can make a proper analysis. There is no way you can't say, I saw guys on the comments saying you can borrow because no, you can't borrow at 19% per annum and have utility. You are simply postponing the day that you're going to go get into trouble. That's all you're doing. If you can't borrow, you can't borrow. End of story. Stop it. Go get equity or get a job or do something else or work. But you can't borrow. The point I'm making is that borrowing at 19% is not an option to get out of debt. I know it's interesting about the same company is owned by three people. So the same company owns three apps. Then you go to one and then they move you to the other app. So this other app will clean out this debt and take it to the same company on a different name, different app. Then you can't pay, they make you pay, then move to the third app. So they keep on recycling you, getting fees of application fees from you and all that. It's a big racket. And they're letting it stay, huge racket. Joseph, I didn't have any follow-up or I should let you go.
I think, as you said, we need financial education. And Nigerians, for one reason or the other, once we see ease of getting money, whether we need it or not, sometimes we just go pick it up. Because funny enough, if you check it out, maybe 50-60% of this money is people borrow. They don't really need it. They don't feel that they can get, 10,000 here, 100,000 here. Sometimes it's just for lifestyle.
Interesting.
Sometimes. Really.
Not good, guys. Stop it if you're doing that. Not good. Stop it. Yeah, if you're doing it. Hey, Just B, what's up, man?
Yeah, good evening.
How you doing?
Yeah, well, yeah, just like, when you're speaking, I was just recounting my experience just recently. In terms of the racket thing going on, when it comes to loans in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Indeed, a lot of financial educations need to be put out there. And I think our financial institutions themselves are actually very exploitative and not helping in the development or rather micro business growth in the country. I remember, and what they call mounted solar, installation in my business. And they were telling me they could give me installation after an energy audit, come about the cost, and they were going to give me at without what do you call it at 19 or 23, no, 23%. So I started engaging them because, of course, if you are not careful with loan, it's all about it's going to put you in the trap. First and foremost, I first of all look at what I want to do, which is solar, and most important is the battery component. So you need to even know the quality of battery they are bringing for you, right? So when he came, I started engaging him at what percent, 23%, what is the payback modality modules like? He started telling me I'll have to pay, on a monthly, and then the percentage, keep rolling up like that. So when I look at it, say for a 24 months period, that's like 2 years. I said, okay, that's beautiful, but by the end of 2 years, I'll still have been in a trap because by then it's expected that my battery will have run, its potential.
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
now I have to start looking for money again to buy a battery. So when I look at it, I say, look, at the end of it, or the only enticing thing here you're bringing for somebody who don't know the 24 months you are paying for the repayment plan. But when you look at the percentage you are getting it's quite huge that at the end of it, you have just worked for 2 years for this microfinance.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't come with any benefit at all.
And just
2 years, you will have just worked and paid for them.
And the point about good debt and bad debt, like the economic life of the loan has to be shorter than the economic life of the asset that you're buying. Like you rightly said, Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you have
Because
taken
that's
a
exactly where the benefit will be.
that's
You need to have
utility.
money
Yeah.
to so exactly.
Why take a loan that is going to continue after the utility of the asset that you're buying? So that's another way good debt and bad. The debt itself is not bad. Deficit financing, you can, I mean, if you are a young person, doesn't matter where you are in America or the US, you have lower income than you will have in future. So the day you start to work, you are always going to have a lower income stream than when you are, say, 10 years on the job because you're just starting out. So in financial planning, we call where you are your accumulation stage. You need to accumulate assets because those assets you accumulate when you are younger is what's going to pay you back as you get older. But so what do? Your income is too little to buy an asset. You have to go into debt. So if you want to buy a car, you want to buy a microwave, you may even buy a house, you have to borrow. So borrowing is essential if you want to get assets. If you wait, right, to save, and let me just use the example of Fela. If you guys, Fela Nicholas Okuti, one of the greatest economists in Nigeria, right? He had a song, and I'm gonna do a special space on that song where he talked about this guy trying to save. I think it was overtake. Talked about this guy trying to save money to buy a fan, and the guy every month was saving to buy the fan. And when he nearly bought the fan, when he nearly bought the fan, the government will add 10 naira more, just 10 naira more. The guy could have easily borrowed 10 naira and bought that fan. But no, the guy tried to save and save and save. Every time he nearly bought the fan, government add 10 naira more. Till the guy now got the money going to buy the fan, government announced second tier. And everything comes here to pieces. That song, it's an economic MBA thesis in that song Fela did, right? If you try to save in a high inflation environment like Nigeria or any environment, it's impossible because you cannot save. The inflation is too high. So you need to borrow and buy the asset only if that asset's utility will last longer than the cost of the loan. Then you pay back the loan. Now you are paying back the inflated naira back to the lender, but you have the asset. So what I mean is that you borrow and buy a car, then you pay back the naira, your cash flow to the lender, because your cash flow is inflated away, but the asset is yours. That's what you want to do. You can't save and save and save in a high inflationary environment. Your savings don't have any value, but the asset has value. So you want to think about it that way. But in the US, where the currency is a bit stable, you can save and buy an asset. But I'm asking you to do credit, just a 1% credit, because you want to have a good credit score. So no absolutes. You got to work within the situation you find yourself according to laws and regulations. But it's always good to have a good credit score. Of course, a good credit score, your number one, the most important number that you're going to have in Nigeria. Okay, real quick, then I'm going to call in Peace. Okay, real quick.
Okay, good evening. My questions are these. You say that saving in Nigeria is very, very is impossible now because of the high inflation. Now, my question is this: on the need to borrow, because as from what I understand in what you are saying, you are telling us that the credit system in Nigeria is very, very bad. So how can we, as a young guy that I am now, that I'm into business, how can I be able to borrow to buy some of these assets and pay back? And since the APR of those microfinance bank are very high, and then thirdly, is that credit system also applicable to Nigeria? Can I be able to borrow and maybe pay back immediately so that the loan their APR will reduce maybe as time goes on? These are the questions I want to ask.
Yeah, okay, great question. So, see, the thing in Nigeria is that the credit system is broken because number one, we don't have identification, number one, and number two, we have high inflation. So, identification and inflation, which means that if I don't know who OKK is, to borrow him money, I have to ask for collateral, static collateral. So for you to come to me, if you don't have static collateral, it's difficult for you to get a loan. That's the first thing. So because I can track you, number one. And even if I can track you, my MPR, what I borrow from the CBN is 18%. So I cannot give you any loan below 18%. I have to start from 18%. That's the problem in Nigeria. So loans are very expensive. If you're an SME and you are borrowing at 18%, then how do you make money back? You have to make 18% just on the interest. Then you pay salary, you pay rent, then you cover your cost before you even do anything. So it's very expensive. So for a local guy in Nigeria, quote unquote, look for other ways to borrow money. I'm saying you can borrow for working capital. Somebody says, supply me goods, I'll give you LPO, I'll pay back in 30 days. You can borrow for that because you are going to go in.
Now it's very, very hard. When you ask people, please,
no, let me land.
If you can't say now, they will carry the goods. Now it's very, very hard.
Okay, I'm agreeing with you. That's what I'm saying. That is next to impossible. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying you cannot borrow credit. There's no credit in Nigeria. I'm saying, but there are other ways you can get credit. I know many folks that have quote unquote esusu or associations that they can go and borrow from as a body. But what is killing Nigerian business is credit, lack of credit. I'm agreeing with you. There is no credit. If you had credit, you can do working capital, but there's no credit. So I'm not saying there's credit anywhere. BOI, all these guys, that's why you see CBN doing intervention because there's no credit. CBN is not doing intervention in, say, human resources. They're doing intervention in credit because there's no credit. Banks cannot lend you less than 18. So as an SME, to borrow, you're borrowing at 28. How do you do profit on that? So there are many ways that I think Nigerians are not using the opportunities. We have so many churches in Nigeria, so many churches. And I think I've said this before, one way those churches can really impact is to start the same way they do home fellowship lending, cooperative lending. If you guys come together, 4 of you come together, we borrow to one person and the other people do not borrow until you pay back. So you OKK, I'm sure you have 3 other friends. 3 of you go, you borrow. Till this guy pays back, you don't borrow. So 3 of you are watching that guy to make him pay. That's what Grameen Bank is doing and all that. It's not rocket science. But there are folks that have a lot of cash in Nigeria. I think they can deploy to the real sector that we're not doing it yet. Banks alone cannot lend. Banks are not set out to lend for long term or no, they are working capital folks short term. But the other non-traditional lending in Nigeria is what we haven't done well. That's really where I think we are missing it. We have to develop other ways that we can get credit across to Nigerian SMEs. Otherwise, okay, nobody's going to borrow, like you said, and we're dead, right?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Eman, did you have a comment, sir? Emanovich?
Hi, thanks again for the opportunity. Just, I don't know if this is the right question for the discussion, but I'm just wondering, in the high inflation society that as it is currently in Nigeria, I'm just wondering what you would consider a good asset.
Any asset that holds its value, number one. So it holds its value, which means that if you buy a house, the house holds its value. So let's ask the question. When you say asset, you are not talking about returns. You are saying the asset. Or are you talking about returns? Clarify your question for me.
Yeah, even if the value should be there, but I would expect some return because...
Which is more important to you, returns or the value?
Returns.
Okay, so if you are talking about returns in Nigeria, the inflation rate in Nigeria is about 22 to 25%. I can tell you for free that there's no securitized, regulated investment in Nigeria that is beating inflation. There's none. So let's just get that out of the way. There is no securitized or regulated investment that is beating inflation in Nigeria. None. The ones that you see beating inflation are either not securitized or non-regulated. So if you want to chase those guys, you are taking a higher amount of risk. You might make your money, you might not make your money. So there's no investment that is beating inflation. What you're trying to do now is to reduce your nominal loss. So you're buying an investment that's going to pay you 15%. It will reduce your inflation loss by 10%. Or you are not holding cash. If you don't hold cash, they're not, then inflation is going to struggle to hold on to you. So there are other asset classes like commodities. AFEX. I know you know AFEX, AFEX. Google them on Twitter. They offer like you can buy rice paddy, you can buy commodities through AFEX. That's another way to, should we say, diversify an uncorrelated asset. So you are buying rice that's causing inflation. You are buying that paddy or cocoa or ginger. That's through commodities. There's also gold. There used to be an ETF in Nigeria called new something ETF. It was a gold ETF. It was the best performing ETF in Nigeria for a very, very long time. I wouldn't advise you to buy it now simply because the price is now overpriced. Everybody found it, everybody took their money there. So if you are buying that ETF, you are buying it at a very, 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 very expensive price. But that's what people are doing. People are buying that ETF because it was backed on gold, and you could sell that ETF in South Africa and get rands, and the rands were not as correlated to inflation as Naira. So people found that way to basically hide their money away from Naira. Look at it this way: anything you can do to avoid holding Naira, you have avoided Naira inflation. So if you take Naira or you earn in dollars or you buy an asset that is not cash, if you're not holding cash, then inflation really doesn't have a bigger hold on you. Does that make sense? But so if you
Yeah,
talk,
it makes sense.
so that's the return question. If you're talking about the value, of course, property, land, anything is value is fine. But returns, none beats inflation.
Okay. Thank you so
Good
much.
evening, sir.
Dara, what's up?
I'm very fine. So my question is, how can a new business owner evaluate the trade-off between equity financing and debt financing, and also make an informed decision as to which one he or she should take?
It's like a hard question, but it's a very, very easy question. First of all, the easy part is that there's actually a calculation, CAPM, capital asset pricing ratio, that tells you which is cheaper. So if you want to go the geek way, you can actually plug in your equity numbers, plug in your debt numbers, and to tell you which is cheaper. But let me give you the easy answer. And I'm telling you for a fact, and I've done a startup in Nigeria. I have many friends who've done a startup in Nigeria. Let me give you before I give you an answer. In Abuja, and see if you can answer me. Someone told me that in Abuja, most SMEs fail after 2 years. It was specific 2 years. Why do you think they fail after 2 years, Dara? Do you have any idea? Why 2 years? What do you think?
I don't particularly have an idea.
You know why?
Why?
That's when their rent runs out. Their rent runs out in 2 years. So the point he was making is this, right? Cash is what kills SMEs. Lack of cash. It's not profit. You might make profit and not make cash flow. So you have an SME, you are supplying detergent. Supply 1 million units of detergent to, say, Shell or to, say, this bank, and the bank does not pay you back to pay your NEPA bill or to pay your worker. So you go out of business. It's not the profit, it's not the branding, it's not the whatever, it's the lack of cash. So to answer your question, how do you determine which is cheaper for you, debt or equity? If you take debt eats your cash away. So you make sales, that sales hopefully becomes cash. It goes to the bank would debit your cash and pay themselves interest. So the money that you would have used to grow your business is being used to settle the bank. So it's not the best way for you to grow your business, especially if you are in the startup stage. In the startup stage, you don't want to talk to banks because banks are shorter term. That's their mandate. They are shorter term and they are going to charge you interest. You want to do more of equity, which is patient, which does not require cash repayments instantly. The dividends are not mandated. So you want to do that to start up. Then once you begin to level up and get to mature, you then go into term loans to expand. So you don't have to do the CAPM to understand what I'm saying. If you are starting a business, you can use the bank loan for working capital, which means you want to pay your salary or you want to supply something, but not to grow. Because you will need to take cash that you need to expand and pay the bank. So it will kill your growth and might kill the idea. A business will die when it runs out of cash. not when it has no customers. Companies can survive with no customers, bad customers, with no products, with bad PR. A company can survive. But once they run out of cash, they die. Make sense, Dara?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Got you. I got Ideremi. Idemi? Did I get that right? Idemini. I'm not sure if we're going to ID.
Yeah, hello, Colin.
Hi, sir. What's up?
Yeah. So I have a question regarding your comment about not getting loans while the business is still in its ideation stage or growth stage. Did I get you correctly?
Yes, you want to be careful about funding your ideation and growth with a bank loan that has a fixed cash repayment. Yes.
Okay, so you didn't actually mean that one cannot get loans at that stage.
It depends on what it's for. If you have the idea, you are growing, you want to be very careful about getting any financing that has a fixed repayment of cash. You want to be very careful about that because that's where you are most vulnerable. When you are growing, it's when you are most vulnerable to failure. When you want to expand your operations. And what saves you from failing is cash. If you have cash, it's a defense. So if you have a problem, you can buy your way out of defense. Maybe you wake up and all your staff have resigned. You can easily buy outsourcing, or you wake up, your generator has packed up and you have to produce the next day. You can buy a generator, you can lease a generator. So cash gets you out of trouble. If you are growing and you need to pay the bank $1 million every month, what if you don't make $1 million next month? Then the bank shuts you down. You have the money, but it's not coming next month. So you are now shut down because you didn't have cash in 1 month, cash that you would have gotten the other month. So you see, if the whole idea of lending is that your income is never smooth, but your costs are smooth. Every month you must pay, but every month your customers may not pay you. So you want to be careful how you finance those gaps in your funding. So that's why I said get a line of credit, like an overdraft, which means that if you have that gap in financing, you can quickly plug it for short term with that line, hoping to clean up later. But if you go borrow 25 million to start off, so you build your headquarters, you buy your cars, then you have to pay every month. So every month is a cost. You don't need that cost right now. That's why if you notice startups, go to the NASDAQ, startups don't pay you a dividend. Startups retain their dividends to grow. So instead of borrowing, they borrow from themselves to finance their own growth. So you should be financing your growth with your own revenues. You don't want to pay, and again, that's another point. If you're a startup, don't promise anybody dividends because you want to keep the cash in. Don't pay yourself a huge salary and say, I'm growing. No, you want to grow with the cash you are generating. You are in growth stage. If the guy wants dividends, then go and buy a mature company. But as a growth guy, you want to expand, scale to get bigger so you can pay the guy a bigger dividend. So not that you start 1 year, you say, this year we're paying dividends. No, that means you have no idea what to do with the cash you generated. So you are giving it back to the investors. The cash should be used to grow. If you can't grow, shut down the company and give everyone back his money. Does that make sense, sir?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Excellent. I know Badejo. How are you doing, sir? Thanks for holding on.
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
How are you doing? First lady, appreciate you. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say that I'm actually enjoying this. I really enjoy it. And I think I would come next day where I could get a reminder to always come around or stuff.
I think we always do this every Sunday, 7 p.m. West African time. We're always here every Sunday. So if you look at the header, you see the podcast link. You see all our episodes are all recorded. So once we're done, we put a copy on the podcast. We put a copy on Twitter. It's called The Way I See It as the podcast. but it's on YouTube, everywhere it's on. And yeah, so if you follow us, if sometimes we don't announce it because I have guests that maybe skip, but we're always here Sundays, 7 p.m. West African time.
Okay, thank you. I'll definitely put a reminder on my calendar for this. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and
Thank you.
thanks for
Thank you
tuning in.
very
I
much.
appreciate you. Yeah. Sawale, how you doing?
Hi, yeah, good evening. Thank you very much.
What's up, man?
Sir, I have a question. My question is not related to this, but it's a finance question, and it's been bothering me a little bit. Let me say I'm in my early 30s, and I believe by next year I should be able to get a very good job, hopefully. So I'm looking into investing in businesses as at this time because it's one of those things I see one can just use just to scale up into the being wealthy. And I'm somehow scared a little bit because looking into renewable energy, I saw somebody that invested his huge sum of money in lithium battery, and despite the way the renewable energy is going, I think he lost almost huge amount of money on it. So my question is just like, what can we look for in investing in businesses, or you understand what I mean? Like, just in investing, what can I actually look for in companies or organization before I can now say, okay, I'm pushing my 10,000, 100,000, 20,000, 50,000 every month or every year.
Gotcha. So, the first question I'm going to ask you is that, do you want to make more money or do you want to keep the money that you have?
Yeah, I want to make more money. I want to make money.
So if you want to make more money, that means you are looking at equity. Equity means that you are buying into a profit and loss agreement, meaning that if you put that money in, you can lose it 100% or you can gain. The principal you put it can actually increase, as opposed to fixed income. When you do fixed income, you go to the bank and you put them in the bank, your principal can never increase. You just get an income on your principal. So if you want to make more money, we then want to do equity. So we've passed the first question, right? So we're in equity. So let me ask the second question. If you hear that this company you have invested in is going to lose money next year and lose money for the next 3 years, but by the 4th year, it will start to make money, are you okay with that?
I'm going to take my money out there, maybe by 20 and I invest.
No. So if you take it, I know if you take your money out, then you don't want to do equity with that now. It doesn't work that way. You see, this question I've asked you, I've asked you the same question 2 different ways, and you can see now. So you see, the whole idea is this. I know if you want to buy a car, if you go to a car shop, you don't say, "Give me your best car." That's not what you tell them. What you tell them, "I want to." In your mind, you say, "I want to go on a date, so I want a 2-door Ferrari to take my girlfriend on a date." You take a Ferrari. If you want to take bags of cement to Kano, what do you take? You buy a trailer to take your bags of cement to Kano. So the point I'm making is that you invest according to your risk, your objectives, even your age, even your ethical. That's how you invest. So if you say, what can I invest in? It's like you're telling me, what car do you have to sell me? You have to tell me what you want to do with the car. Do you want to go on a date or want to take bags of cement to Kano? If you tell me that, I can tell you, oh, look at this sector. Oh, look at that sector. But I just asked you now, you said you want to make money, you want to do equity, but you don't want to lose money. So you're not doing equity. If you don't want to lose money, then you should stay in fixed income. The problem with fixed income is that when you stay in fixed income, inflation kills you. But if you go to equity, inflation may not kill you and you may lose all your money, but you may get more money. You see the risk, the may. But in fixed income, you are sure of getting your money, but no, the inflation will kill you. So you have to choose the one you want. There's no mixture. That you can't say, I want her. It's not buffet. Do you want to make more money or do you want to keep the money you have?
I want to make more money.
Okay, that means you want to do equity. If you're going to do equity, you want to then look for, okay, now we're talking. What do you know? What do you know about agriculture? Do you know about lithium, or you just heard your friend doing lithium? You heard on CNN. What do you know? What training do you have? You don't have to answer. But what training do you have? What do you know? Where do you have a link in? Who is your uncle working in customs that he gives you information? You want to start to invest where you know. So you know agriculture, you know this company supplies agricultural seeds. And last session we were here, one guy was telling us here that the seeds that Nigeria makes, that our company is going out of business, that the seeds that we use in Nigeria to plant, the company that makes those seeds is going out of business. So if I know that now, who is going to replace them? Is there a company that's going to come to replace them? Who is that company? Who owns them? Can I invest in that company? Because they're going to be very, very essential for Nigeria's growth. If Nigeria is going to grow, that company will grow. Do you get what I'm saying? If you simply now go and invest blindly, you don't have the information to keep up. So you're going to lose money because you might think this bank is doing making a lot of money because it's a bank. But it's losing money because the bank has non-performing loans. I don't know what non-performing loans mean or what they mean to the balance sheet. So the most important element for investing is information. You've got to know, you've got to read to know, then you do what you know and invest. You see, Warren Buffett, what he says, he doesn't invest what he doesn't know. So if you copy him, if you learn about how he looks before he invests, that's a good way for you to do. So you don't, if you don't know, I don't know anything about lithium, so I'm not going to go there, right? So if I know about banks, I'll go there. So that's what I advise you to do. So before you say, well, try to read, to understand, get a link, go and understudy someone, then put your money. It's your money. You don't lose it, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So I hope you get it where I'm going to with this. No one's going to tell you buy this car. You got to say I want to go here, then they can tell you what particular car to buy.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, man. I got Bros K. Bros IK, is that you on the DP? Yeah, go ahead. Who is speaking?
Okay, hi.
Bros IK, is that you in the DP? Is that you?
Does it matter?
I'm trying to understand if I should call you Sir or Alhaji or just.
I'm not an Alhaji though.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, actually, I think thank you for hosting the space. I think it's pretty much what I need now. We actually are a small scale, and we've actually taken some loans in USD. And now we generate in Naira. The problem we're having at the moment is that the Naira has pretty much tanked. And, we have to pay interest on the dollar loan, and we're paying back. So, what advice do you have for us, before we go out of business? Because I keep hearing you saying that if you borrowed in dollars and now you're paying back, you're likely to go out of business. What advice do you have for us?
Question for you: Do you have a chief financial officer or accountant? Do you have one in your company?
We have like a consultant, that's giving us financial advice.
But when you borrowed, did you have? I'm sorry, I don't put you on the spot. But when you borrowed the dollar, did you have a CFO or an accountant in house? Because you're a tech guy, you said. Did you have a CFO?
Yes.
You had
Yes, we had someone, but not in house. They helped us to get the loan because it was more. Luckily for us, it was more like an informal kind of arrangement. It was some people in diaspora, but they didn't actually give us the money in Naira. It was in dollars. So we are paying back in dollars, and it wasn't kind of them putting in money to get equity. It was just a loan.
Gotcha.
And they specified that it's a loan, and we are going to pay back.
Gotcha.
So,
where I'm going to is that if you had a finance guy, he would have done what's called a hedge, HEDGE, hedge. He would have hedged this exposure for you. Because back then, what you did is what Nigeria did. The Nigerian Minister of Finance advised the president to borrow in dollars because it was cheaper than Naira. But no one, or should we say, they did not hedge. The failure to hedge is the problem today. If you had hedged, you would have been able to even make money on your hedge right now. You'd have made more money than on the hedge than even your operational income you are making. So right now you have a situation whereby you have Naira to pay back in 1004, that you borrowed at below. So, I mean, honestly speaking, you have to do a refinance with those guys. You have to call them in. I have to say you cannot pay what you have, and you have to do it early. And you say for the business to survive, you either can give them equity. You have to convert what they've given to you either to equity, or they extend the period of your obligation to them. Because and you must take your own sacrifices. You have to be open to them and say, this is my balance sheet. The mistake we made is that we did not hedge. If we pay you guys back this, are you giving them a bullet payment? I mean, are you paying them dividends, or how are you paying them back? Is it an equity thing? How are you paying them back?
Not even equity, but it's more like interest.
Okay, so you got to stop that interest. You have, like I said, you have to call them. I have to open the books, and you say, right now we're paying you interest on 1,004. We borrow the money at 400 or 500, right? If we continue, the bill is going to fail. So
it was at 500.
500. You see, so you are paying interest now at 100% plus. So you call and you say, okay, this is what's in it for you guys. You guys will stay in, and I'll give you guys a stake in the business. I'll put a promissory note. Give them. I'm giving you free advice. You can write a promissory note that you can buy back from them in, say, future amount period, to say, okay, I'm so confident in this business that I'm going to owe you X amount in dollars, and I guarantee to buy it back from you in 2-3 years. That 2-3 years, you are trying to rejig your business, and you're trying to hope that the Nigerian economy improves to the extent that you can pay back. Because the problem is that if you keep on paying them cash, you're going to kill the business. You're paying at 50%. I don't think your margins can grow by the 100% to cover what you're paying on just this one line item of interest financing. So you've got to call those guys and do a total reorganization of the finances. And this time you want to hire a finance guy to do the books for you.
Oh, perfect. I mean, thank you so much. I mean, this is a good one.
If you don't do it, your business will not survive.
You've got to be
open. You've got to be open, share the books, and ask either conversion to equity, or you buy a promissory note payable in a longer duration, allowing you time to continue. If they insist on getting their money, you can't pay. The business would fail and they will lose money. So all of you have got to give something away.
Thank you so much.
All right, bro.
Thank you.
Yep. Prosper, what's up? You're welcome. Prosper, what's up? Prosper, you got the floor.
Good evening, boss.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I really appreciate your enlightening and lecture you've been giving here on X. I started following your accounts early this year, and I can say I really learned a lot.
Thank
In fact, you really motivated me in going deep into economics and macroeconomics in general. So that's on that. I want to ask a question. So I want to borrow a loan from the bank, for instance, and I have some properties. I'm not talking about microfinance now, all those loan sharks. So from the traditional banks, and I have properties that I want to use as collateral. What metrics does the bank use to use my properties as a proportional collateral to the amount I want to loan from them? That's my question.
Gotcha. All right. Sorry about the baby crying. Let me have you mute, Prosper. Could you mute? Sorry. All right, Prosper. Yeah. So great. So Prosper, you're asking about how the bank, should we say, values collateral. Remember, it's all going to be individual to the bank. Banks have their own collateral policies, their own credit policies. But overall, what banks don't lend on collateral overall. Banks want to lend on your ability to repay or service the loan. The collateral is their fallback position, right? So the most important thing for the bank is how liquid is that collateral? How liquid is the collateral? If I have a mansion in my village in Abia or Hafia, that's not collateral. When I mean Abia, I don't mean the state, I mean my village. That's not collateral, right? Because the bank is going to sell the property to who? But if I have a house in, say, Port Harcourt or Abuja, that's collateral because the bank can easily sell that house and can get their liquidity back. So the most important thing for the bank is how liquid is that collateral. So if you take a share certificate to the bank, they like it more than if you take even real estate to the bank, because with share certificates it's easier to dispose of and get their cash back than even a house. So that's the very, very first thing. Is the house titled? Where is the house? Is it in whose title? If it's easier to dispose of, the bank will like it more than if it's harder to dispose of. So you see sometimes this FGN bonds come out, and they pay 11%, and some folks will be like, I don't need it. It doesn't beat inflation. If you have that kind of a bond, the banks love that as a collateral because it's nearly cash and it's guaranteed that it will be paid back, right? So the banks like that. Like if you have a federal government bond or you have a bond of a sovereign or a treasury bill, they'll give you a loan instantly because you can always pay back. So the answer is how liquid is the liquidity is the main issue. How is it titled? And the liquidity are really the main things that as a bank credit officer they would look at before they then use that collateral to service or to support your loan request. Makes any sense? Prosper?
All right. You answered a part of the question. Answered something that I'm here to know now. My question here particularly is, okay, the bank has assessed how liquid the loan is and how liquid my collateral is. Now, how do they measure? For instance, I have a piece of land in a particular location that is good for an easy sell for the bank. And on that piece of land, what I have there is, let's say, 10 plots of land. And I want to borrow, let's say, 3 million from the bank. What metrics are we going to use the bank is going to use to measure if I'll be using, let's say, 2 plots of land as collateral or 5 plots of land as collateral?
Oh yeah, so again, remember, it goes back to the point that the bank does not lend on collateral. So you can't go to the bank and say, I want to borrow and I have collateral. It's rather the bank, you say, I want to borrow, I have this idea that this business will pay back this way. But if it doesn't pay back this way, this is my collateral. So the bank is looking first of all at what you want to do with the loan, and if the use of the proceeds of that loan can service the loan before they look at it. Your collateral is the fallback. So take your mind off the collateral per se and say, what do you want to do? Will the bank use that? If you're looking for a short-term loan, yeah, you drive your car and you say this car is valued at so and so. Then a microfinance bank can give you money. Say they take a percentage of the true value of your collateral and give you cash. But land is very, very difficult in Nigeria to hold as collateral because of Land Use Act. It makes transfer of title very difficult. This land you have, is it in your name? If it's in your name, the bank has got to transfer that title from you to them. So the governor has to sign. Why will the bank go through all that just to give you a loan? They have other people they can do that with. You see what I'm saying? So land is a very, very difficult thing to use for short-term loan for trading. It's difficult to do that. The bank will prefer an asset that they can easily grab and sell than land.
All right. Thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome, man. All right. Dr. Toby, how you doing, sir? Dr. Toby, you've got the floor, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Hey, how you doing, my bro?
It's great to be here. I learned a lot of things, yes. So I just want my 2 cents is actually a question. I wanted to ask your take on as Nigerians, as young vendors, young business startups, business owners, how do you think we are actually there right now in terms of being fit enough to get loans? I mean, using should I say, softly mismanaged the opportunities towards loans that we have now. I mean, I was going through some papers for a particular group of young vendors, and it seems like a lot of us, we don't understand the whole aspect of getting these loans. We just believe that I get this money, I put it in my business, and miracle happens. From your own perspective, have we in any way tried as much as possible to do well in this aspect?
I can answer that. That's more of a subjective question. I can't say if you've done well or not, honestly.
All right, no problems. I was trying to revise something off, so I just wanted to get like a tip of what you feel about how we've managed so far based on your exposure towards loans in Nigeria.
What I know is that everybody in the world has a problem with debt. Everyone. The US, lots of people default. I mean, lots of people are bankrupt here. They have a clear way to address bankruptcy. In Nigeria, lots of people are also defaulting on loans. In the UK, I haven't gone to any country where I haven't seen folks that are bankrupt, right? Or that have a debt problem. It's a big problem. The difference is that when you go to, say, a rich country, they have a huge debt, but they have good income. So they service the loan. So it doesn't show up as bad. It doesn't show up as a problem per se. The problem in Nigeria is exacerbated because we have very, very low income. So if you borrow at 25%, right, and you have a problem, you are ill, or your asset get destroyed, you're in trouble because you can't pay back. You are one illness in Nigeria away from being bankrupt. And in Nigeria, there's no bankruptcy in Nigeria. You just disappear. In America, you can claim bankruptcy, you get some protection, there's social security, blah, blah, blah. I've seen people that got sick and went from doing very, very, very well to nothing. Not just them, their family. So that's the problem in the country, that the income is so low and there's no structure, there's no safety net. If you are doing very well and one day your complex goes up in flames, you are dead. There's no insurance, there's no way you can come back, bounce back. You have to start all over again. That's the only difference here and there. If you're a kid here and you have a bankruptcy, after 5 or 7 years, it falls off your credit score, you can restart again, you can go to school, build back yourself up again. I mean, Donald Trump, his businesses were bankrupt, right? But he's the president today. So in Nigeria, I know it's only one person that has been declared bankrupt. I think it's only one person. The law is there, but we don't use it because it's cultural and all that kind of stuff. So that's the difference. It's just we earn too little that debt becomes a life event. It's not a financial event in Nigeria, it's a life event. If you borrow from that microfinance bank and you are paying 200% a year, how do you pay back? Explain to me how you pay back 200%, unless you enter one profession and you steal money and you pay back. How do you pay back 200 compounded? So the next year it's 400 compounded. That's the difference, Doc.
Thank you very much.
All right, man. Nice one. I don't know if Adams has spoken. Adams, have you spoken, sir? Adams Osarit, let me say that name. Adams _ Pius. How are you, sir? Adams _ Pius. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Prof. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate this opportunity and this. I just stumbled into the space, and I heard you talking about cash flow issues with SMEs and startups and how that can be a problem for their sustainability. So I just want to ask, let's say you find yourself in that position where it seems like you are burnt out, you've exhausted all financing option and operations cannot be sustained, and the thing that is before you looks like bankruptcy, but like you said just now, bankruptcy does not happen in Africa, you just vamoose. So, but how do you, what remedies, or what do you think, how do you come out of that situation where it seems like you are burnt out financially as a business?
So are you saying if you know that there's no way to continue, or are you saying there's hope somewhere?
The chances of continuing are very slim.
Okay. I mean, what I'll say is this, right? Close shop and move on, and don't ruin your name. Close shop and move on. Because if you are out and out, it's best to close shop, advise people formally, and say, hey, this didn't work out, and we're going to shut down. If things turn out tomorrow, we'll start again. Because when you leave gracefully and with that sort of exit, you can always go back to people. Policy can change tomorrow, and you can come back to those same investors. So as much as possible, if you think you can't go on, don't incur debt and then you are shut down because you could not pay your liquidity or you couldn't meet your liquidity calls. Shut down, call it a day, tell your folks, hey, this didn't work out. We want to go off air now. Hopefully we'll come back if things get better, and leave gracefully. Yeah, because that's just the way you want to do it. You don't want to create enemies. You don't want to create a bad, no, there's nothing wrong in you failing. If you fail, you learn that as experience, right? Everywhere in the world, people fail. Look at the guys that are the top 10 in America that they are rich. They'll give you all their stories of failures, how they failed and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'll say. Once you know you can't continue, don't drag it. If you know, I'm not talking about you have a business failure, you lost a contract. No, that's not what I'm talking about. If you believe that the policy that has been introduced is going to affect you, or you believe that you cannot go on, or you have a health issue, do it formally. Close down, pay off your staff, sell your assets, write your suppliers, do it gracefully, and then leave, because you never know when you might need to come back, right? You never know. All right. Okay, Adams, thanks for that question. I have a question here on DM from Roland. Roland is asking, can you borrow to buy stocks? The obvious answer is yes, you can borrow to buy stocks. It's called margin. But why are you borrowing to buy stocks? I'm going to give you my own personal story. And one of my biggest financial mistakes that I made. I'm going to give you my story so you learn from me. So you don't do it yourself. You're going to learn from me. Why do you borrow to buy stocks? Because you think the stocks are going to go up in price so that you can sell and you can pay back. So now let me give you my own story about borrowing and all that. So back in Nigeria, back in this, I used to work in an investment bank, and there's something in Nigeria called bonus shares. It's still around, right? But they give you a bonus, which means instead of getting a cash dividend, you get a bonus share. The way bonus shares work is this. If the share is worth 100 naira and they give a 1-for-1 bonus, that means you get, for every one share, you get one bonus. That means you're going to get, if I have 10 shares, I will have 20 shares. The company will give me 10 new shares for the 10 I have, and the share price is 100. The accounting means that, right, those 100 shares, when they give me my new 10 shares, the price of those shares will fall or be adjusted from 100 to 50. So I'll give a good example. If I'm buying, I don't use a company name, if I'm buying Nigerian stock for 100 naira and Nigerian stock gives me a bonus 1-for-1, that means that the price of Nigerian stock will fall to 50, half, 1-for-1, half. Now, there's something called in financing called anchoring. When most people look at the share price in Nigeria, they anchor to a price. So let's say they look at Nestle. Nestle is about 1,000. In their mind, they anchor to 1,000. So the guy is looking at his papers. So when we used to trade, we used to trade off this anchoring. People will see Nestle at 1,000 naira on Monday. Then on Wednesday, they'll see it at 500. What do you think they do? They buy. They think that the price has fallen from 1,000 to 500. So that at 500, they think they're buying at a discount, which is false, because the share is 500, because they are double the shares now in existence. So there's no change. The 500 is the same as the 1,000. But people don't know this. The bulk of people don't know this. So they rush and they buy. So what we used to do, this is the trade, is that you look for shares that are giving you bonus. You buy the share before the X date, the date that are going to cut off the bonus. When you buy the share, after the X date, the share price will fall. People will buy it. The share price goes back up to the real cost. You sell the shares. Your profit is the bonus you are going to get. So if you don't get it, I'm sorry, I really can't explain that more simpler than that. So what I did, or what we used to do, is that we borrow money and we'll buy these shares that are going to give a bonus. We buy the shares, then we hold it. When we hold it, after the shares announced, the share price goes back up. We sell our share, pay back the loan, then we use the bonus as our profit. So this particular bank was doing a bonus share 1-for-1 offer, 1-for-1. So it came up. Then Nigeria just launched credit cards. I took my credit card. I was traveling. I took my credit card and I swiped that credit card for the full amount. I maxed it out and I bought that share, full amount. And the bank share went down, then went up, exactly as promised. But what happened? That was when they now had, I don't know what was going on. The share certificate did not come out of the registrar in time. So we couldn't get the shares to sell and make the profits and pay by the credit card company. So because there was a delay, yes, the bank got investigated by Interpol or something like that. So they shut down everything. So the share price went up, they started to go down, but I had already swiped my credit card to buy this share. By the time the dust had settled, the returns that was made from getting the share certificates and selling was less than the interest on the credit card. So I ended up just working for nothing, paying off a credit card for nothing, Nigerian credit card. So the answer to your question, yes, you can borrow to buy stocks, but you are taking a risk. Your borrowing is fixed. The share price is not fixed. It can go up, it can come down. So unless you know for a fact, you have insider knowledge, which is illegal, you know for a fact that this share is going to go up in price. Borrowing to buy that share is taking two risks. One, you are investing, and two, you are investing on a hunch. If it makes it, you're going to make a lot of money. If it fails, you are going to lose a lot of money. So the answer is yes, but I would warn you to be very careful. Use my experience. What I should have done was to have maybe put up my own portfolio as loan to borrow, not a credit card. But I was traveling. That was the fastest way to get money out in the stockbroking firm. So be careful, Mr. R, about borrowing. You can, but be careful. That's called margin trading. And once the share price goes down, you will get a margin call on your portfolio, right? So I got Emmanuel, Ponto Emmanuel. How you doing? Go for it, sir. Mr. Ponto, hey, go for it. I can hear you now. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Very well. You dropped off again. Your audio's off again.
Okay, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This is my story. Very funny. Just like you just said something now. It's okay. Some years ago, I was in UAE. I was in Dubai, right? So I had a very good job, and I got my credit card from the bank. Then I was using it, like I was paying up my debt, and then my spouse needed to pay her because she got an admission to study in the UK. Then I was like, okay, fine. I don't have, like, I wanted to just pay up the school fees up front, like, so I should just settle it properly, like, without having to, work and pay fees you get. So I used my credit card. I just paid her school fees, everything up front from UAE. Then she left to the UK. Then I stayed back in Dubai. After a while, Nigeria, the whole Nigerian issue with UAE, the government clashes. Now my work permit got expired. I couldn't renew anymore. That was how I lost my job. And this is like 1 year after she had left, right? Then I lost my job. Now, this is where the whole story, the way I started having issues. I couldn't really get a very good job anymore because of the whole still visa issue we were having. So I had to move to the UK. Like I moved to the UK like some months ago. Now, ever since while I was in Dubai, I was still I struggled to pay up. I struggled to pay up the loan from the credit card. So what I did was I just told the bank that they should just
just give me a payment plan that will pay up probably in 5 years' time. So I just needed to buy time so I'll be able to like pay it up at my own time. Then I go to the UK and like I just forgot about it. I needed to settle in, like get a job, get a bigger apartment and the rest. Now I think I'm ready to pay up the loan, but I'm thinking, I don't know. What do you advise? What do I do? Like I want to call them. Like, okay, now I'm ready to pay up. Like, what do you think I should do? Like, what are my chances? What options do I give them to so that they were able to so that I'll be able to at least pay up easily, that it wouldn't really, pain me.
Let me ask you a question. So just to be clear, this loan is a credit card loan.
Yeah, credit card, yeah.
Did they stop the interest on the credit card loan?
No, it's up to now. It's still up, yeah.
You don't have any option. You have to go pay. You have to call them and ask them to give you a deal. If they can give you a deal, because
deal, right? So now, what are my options? What do you think I should probably look out for, even if I want to get a deal with them?
You want to ask them if they can accept a one-time payment. See, it's not even possible. Where's the credit card company located in?
Sorry?
Is it a US credit card company, UK? Where's
it? No, UAE, back in UAE.
What's the APR? Do you know?
No, that is why I just collected it blindly. I never had any financial intelligence,
But do you know the APR now? Have you found out the APR now?
No, never. I haven't.
Okay.
I just stumbled on this live video. This live session.
Okay, so number one, you need to know what you're owing. Do you know what you're owing? Do you know the amount you're owing?
Yes, I know the amount I'm owing.
Okay, so you want to get all that information from them, and you want to ask them if they can give you a one-time payment to clear off the balance. That's a very, very expensive loan, and it's a compounding loan. So you haven't made your minimum payments. You haven't done anything for all those years. That's a very, very bad thing to have done, because it's going to show up on a credit score reporting. So you want to call them Monday, if possible. Call them today, and you want to say, hey, you had financial difficulties, and you would like to ask if there's any forbearance or anything that they could offer to you to pay. Don't ask for a payment plan. Don't pay cash all in bulk all at once. Ask for a payment plan to clear it up if they will not charge you interest when you're making your payment plan. It will give you over time to pay. Ask for that. If they say you have to pay once, get that done. But you need to pay off. Get something in writing from them to say this is your plan. Then work towards it. You don't want to owe credit cards more than the day that you're supposed to owe. It's very expensive.
Yeah, actually, because I have been thinking about it, like I've been thinking about it, and I was like, fine, I just have to do this. I have this friend. He said I should just forget about it after. I'm not going to Dubai. I'm like, no, come on, it's gonna affect me definitely, because I know there's something they call Bureau of that's a Bureau, they call it at the head Bureau of I've forgotten sure, but I know they do it. It's like they check the credit of worthiness of everybody that is in the country, even if you're out of the country. So if they report you to them, they always have a way of getting you. So what I just tried to do all these years, like all this while, because I know back then in Dubai, if you owe your credit card and you don't pay after 5 years, after 5 months or 5 installments, they report you to them. So I just make sure that before it gets to 5 years, maybe on the fifth month, I just pay something. Then they don't disturb me anymore, or like nobody talks to me. And after 5 months again, I just to buy time, because I know I was going to pay back, but I just needed time to fix myself here first.
Yeah, I hear you, bro. I mean, you're being honest and all that. But I mean, let's go back to your initial comments. You paid for your wife's education with a credit card. So remember what I said? I know when you joined, you don't take a loan without a source of repayment. So first starting point of any loan, if there's no source of repayment, you don't take a loan. Full stop. So if there's no repayment, you don't take a loan. You can take your savings and buy that. But I get it. Your wife wants to go to school, so she's going to go to school. Then the repayment will be maybe she's going to work and pay down that credit card. That's how you guys should have structured it. If she's working, she pays down the principal because you have to service the loan, but you have to pay down the principal on the credit card. I'm pretty sure when you call these guys now, your loan would have ballooned and your your interest is going to be more than the principal you borrowed. So when you are paying, make sure you are saying, I want to pay the principal. Don't say you want to pay the amount. Ask them for the breakout of your indebtedness. There will be interest portion, there will be a principal portion. You want to make sure you are paying the principal. If you pay $100, they might take 99 and pay the interest and one to the principal. So you want to make sure that you are asking that question. If I pay, what goes to principal? What goes to interest? Call on Monday.
Okay, thank you very much. Sure, I'm going to do that.
All right, bro. Good luck with that. All right, I've got Dami. Is that Dami or Ladakbo? Guys, we've got about 30 minutes to go. How long we got? We're going to end top of the hour, so we've got about 15 minutes and we're going to wrap up. Let you guys go enjoy your weekend. Dami, you've got the floor, Dami. Dami or Ladakbo. What's up? Dami's not ready yet. Oh, Dami, yeah, there you go. Go ahead.
Good evening, I'm here.
How you doing?
I'm fine. Good evening, everyone.
Good. What's up?
Fine.
Yeah, got a question, Dami?
No. I don't have any question.
Okay, because you are on the speaker. That's why if you're on the speaker, that means you had a question. No, not a problem. I'll put you back on mute and I'll just go to Ugochukwu. That's okay.
Yeah.
Super. All right. Thanks for hopping in. Hey, Ugochukwu. Hey, what's up, man? Ugochukwu Nebani. Did I get that right? Ugochukwu, what's up? On mute. Let's hear you speak. Can I hear?
Hello.
Ugochukwu, how you doing?
Yeah, good day. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. I'm a very big fan of your channel and your Twitter page. Thank you very much for the for giving us all the updates and all.
Thank you.
So I have a question. I want to ask if NGX like Nigeria, because you said something about like when you got a loan to like the stock when you bought stocks there. But I want to ask, is the NGX ready for like a digital platform for trading? Like is the NGX ready for something like that, something like Robinhood or Momo, like for the NGX? Is the market ready for it? Do you think it's ready for it?
We already have lots of trading apps that you can trade in Nigeria. NGX itself is just a platform, but we have lots of digital trading apps, many that are registered by SEC. There's Chaka. I think Chaka has been bought by Rise. There's Cowrywise. There's what's the other guy's name? Bamboo. They're all registered by SEC. You can go in there and trade digitally. Even many stockbroking homes have their own direct trading sites. Auto Stevens, CSL stockbrokers, Afri Invest, they all have their own individual stockbroking firms. So you can actually go in there and trade as well.
Okay, so but are all those they are stock trading firms, are they digital or they are still like normal local brokers?
What does that mean, digital? You can buy and sell from your phone. Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, you can buy and sell from your phone if that's what you're asking. Correct.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. I know where it's brother. Hey, I got Eze Chikwelu. How you doing, sir? VIP Wosu. What's happening?
Yeah, hi, Gavin.
Hey, what's up?
Thank you for having me. I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
This is a bit tricky. I've been discussing with a couple of my friends. Someone actually suggested it, but I want to know what your take is. So someone was able to pay off a mortgage, the person said. Person was able to pay off a 28-year mortgage in 7 years. And this was what the person did. So person looked at the person's income, then looked at the person's credit card. So maxed the credit card by writing a check to the person, then paying it towards the person's mortgage, and by the time the income comes in, the person fills back the credit card, then the credit card provider looks at it, increases the person's limits, and the person will max it off again. And when it's that way going up, the credit card the limit keeps going up, the person kept maxing it, paying off in 2-3 months and all that. What is your thought about that?
And it's not automatic. It's not like if you pay off your credit card today, they increase the limit tomorrow. So credit card increase limits are not automatic. And depends on what the mortgage. I mean, look at this transaction you're talking about. Mortgage rates are always going to be lower than credit card rates. Always. So the cost of the mortgage is lower than the cost of the credit card. What if he maxes out and he can't pay that credit card? What if something happens that month he can't pay back? So I hear you max credit card, then you take cash. That's already a charge. Every time you take cash from your credit card, it's a ding. They don't like to see it. So if you're taking out cash from your credit card, they are dinging you. So it means you're using your credit card to pay your mortgage. You're also going to see you're using your credit card, they ding you as well there. Because you should be paying from, say, a direct deposit or flowing from your bank account. So are you going to swipe the credit card with your lender? Who is the lender?
So the credit card payment is in addition to the
but how is it paying?
monthly.
How is it paying it?
Yes.
If who owns the mortgage? If a bank owns the mortgage, so how does it pay from its credit card? Is it going to go to the bank and swipe?
So that was the main question I had. So person says you write a check to yourself. So the person wrote a check to the person, cashed the check and paid it towards the credit card.
No, hold up.
So we've been thinking
Hold up.
That's why I want to know what you think. What's your thoughts?
I'm holding my credit card in my hand. How do I pay the mortgage? That's what I'm asking.
So, no, the person is already secured the mortgage,
Uh-huh.
right? And the standard monthly mortgage payment has been set up. The person pays that.
Okay.
Right. So the person now writes a check. So this happened.
Hold up. That's what I'm saying. If I'm holding a credit card, the check is from where?
So this person claimed that the person wrote. I don't want to put gender into it. The person claimed that the person wrote a check to the person. So you writing a check to yourself.
But how does that affect the credit card?
Off your credit card.
How do you cash it off?
You can do balance transfer. In the UK, you can do balance transfer. But when the person said check, it wasn't a conversation. I was like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But in the UK, you can do balance transfer. You're going to get charged. So what we're looking at is, given that the person is, the house prices is appreciating, equity is building, and the person cut down 28 years mortgage to 7 years plus.
I don't think it's. No, I don't think it's possible.
That's why I wanted to know what your thoughts.
It's not possible. The way he's saying it is not possible. There are many things that can't happen. You can't write a check from a credit card. You can take your credit card and do a cash advance. And once you take cash out, it's a ding. It's negative. So it's going to affect your credit. You're taking out cash every month from the credit card, every single month. That's a ding. Number two, you're not going to get an immediate credit increase. Your credit increase is going to be based on your DTI, your debt to income. But when you are taking out cash, it's affecting your debt. You are telling the company you don't have the income. Hence, you're taking out cash every month. If you don't have income, simply by paying back your card, they won't increase your card limit. They're increasing your card limit because they're seeing your usage, that you are using the card a lot, and then you can pay back that card. That's number one. You can't go 28 to 7. There's no way you can pay off. If you calculate the cash he's going to have to pay between 20 to 7, it's more than the credit that is going to be given to him on that card. Just rough calculation. The house is worth 400K. If he pays it over 30 years, he's paying about maybe 1,500 a year. Yeah, a month. If he pays it over 7 years, he's going to pay nearly 4,000 a month. So where is the 3K? 3K multiplied by 12 is 36,000. If you do 36,000, that's what he's going to squeeze out of one credit card. What's the limit on the credit card? It has to be maybe 500,000 limit to allow him to pull at least 80%. I doubt it.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to run it by you to see how possible it is. myself and my friends who've been talking about it and we've been pondering over it, how possible it is.
I mean,
Fit on
send,
as a financial expert.
tell him to send you the DM. Tell him give the DM of the institution that did it. Send it to me. I'll give you specifics. But for now, I don't think it's possible.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
You're welcome, bro. Hey, IB, go to the floor. IB, what's happening?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I just bumped into the live, and I guess I've been following for some time, so I come on the live for some time, and I think it's interesting tonight.
Thank you.
I'm not very good with financial. I don't know much about financial stuff, so like at times I always think I like to invest my money in maybe buying shares or stuff like that, but I don't really have an idea about it. There was a time that was, I think, 2021 or 2021, I think. Then MTN had a share. They were selling some shares. I wasn't serious about it. I just bought a 5,000 naira share then. And probably they still give me some dividends every month. Like at the end of the year, they give me, I think, $1,000 or thereabout. What I'm trying to say is that then I saw like a post online. They said the federal government was trying to sell one a share called what's it called? They said it's Suku, something like that, about a bond, something about bonds. So I'm not really sure how do people get, if you want to buy shares and if you want to invest your money in shares, can't you buy it by yourself? You have to go through, because they will tell you to go through a stockbroker. I don't understand that also. So I need a little bit of explanation on how you can buy shares and information on maybe how you can buy yourself or how you can look for a stockbroker to buy shares for you. So that's why I came online. Thank you.
Yeah, there are many ways. If you want to invest in Sukuk, first of all, is a bond, right? It's just Sukuk, it's just a non-interest paying bond. It's quote unquote an ethical bond, or some would say Islamic bond. That's what Sukuk is, right? But if you want to buy shares, you can buy it yourself by downloading an app. Now on the app, you can buy directly, or you can go to any stockbroker. Most stockbrokers also have apps, i.e. online access, where you can create an account and you can deposit monies and you can buy shares and it's deposited into your account for you. So there are many ways you can buy. You can go to a stockbroker, talk to a human, or you can go to a stockbroker, open an account there and buy it online, or you can just basically go online 100% and buy directly. So many ways that you can get access to investing through equities in Nigeria and all that. Yeah.
Sorry, one more question, sir. The shares, how do we know which is the best? Like you said, we were saying something about some shares will fall and some will rise. But I feel like something like MTN can go down because I think they're actually a telecommunication company and they're always going to pay profits for some time. I don't know, maybe for some years. Then then we had like Coca-Cola, companies that have been there for long. How do we know particular company that, like you said, that you can invest your money on that in the nearest future something's gonna be there. I don't want to go into the one where you put your money and it goes down and it comes up again. I'm not really good with that because I don't know much about that. So I don't want to use my money. I don't want to gamble my money on what I don't know about.
The simple answer is to say you have to research. I mean, do you follow soccer? If you follow soccer, do you follow soccer? Yeah, do you play football? Do you follow English Premier League?
Football, yes, I have a fan of football.
So name the first team of Arsenal for me. Name them for me. The attackers in Arsenal. Name like 5 attackers for me.
Arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, Martinelli. They have Gabriel Jesus. They have Saka. They have Nikita. And they have, I think they have Trossard now. Trossard, yeah.
Okay. How do you know? How do you know these guys?
Because I watch football.
Interesting.
I like to watch football.
Okay.
I'm not good at reading. I prefer to watch than reading or people telling me.
All right. So just watch Bloomberg, watch Yahoo TV, watch any investment show on TV. Watch it for like 2 hours a day. The same way you mentioned Arsenal first team, you can understand what's PE ratio, what return on equity, what company dividend ratio means, dividend yield means. That's exactly what you need to do. No difference. Anything you study, then you understand. Now, if I tell you, for instance, they are taking off Martinelli to bring on Partey, you know what's happening, Abi. You know they want to play defense, Abi.
Yes.
Exactly the same thing. If I tell you a company is investing in this country to boost their equity per share, you know exactly what they want to do. There's no difference. You've got to do the research, understand what those numbers mean, understand what investing means. Then you can then say, okay, because Anthony is doing this, I'm going to buy or sell their shares. Every stock can go down. Every stock can go down, but every stock can also go up. So stocks are not fixed, they are variable. The only ones that cannot go down are what we call fixed income, like bonds, based on the issuer. If it's a government issuer, then the government can print money and pay you. So the more you more or less read and watch about financial news, understand it, is easier for you to understand where to invest. The same way you've just done with Arsenal Football Club. You're welcome, bro. Yeah, so go study. You have a phone, just put it, search on Twitter, finance Twitters, follow those people, watch Bloomberg, put Bloomberg, watch it for 30 minutes. You won't understand what they're saying at first. After a while, you start to get the picture. Watch, follow many guys on Twitter, and you get the language. You get understand what you it's just like if you give your girlfriend or your wife football to watch, you say, what is offside? She'll say, why is that guy wearing black? It's the same thing you are asking because you don't know football. But once she starts to watch football, she know, oh, offside means this. Oh, that guy is a referee. Exactly the same thing. So you've got to understand it. Yeah.
I said, okay, I'm listening to you.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. So do that, and then yeah. So follow my page, get my book as well. It's a very, very good book. I break it down in simple language for you. How to invest, what to watch out for, things like that. Yeah, get it. It will help you. It's on Amazon. Yeah. All right, Superman. Thanks, Ivy.
Thank you.
We're gonna shut down about. So once we answer the guys that are on screen, now we'll shut down. Hey, Ivy, what's up? Deary, what's happening? Deary, what's up? Go ahead. Deary, I can hear you. All right.
Okay. Thank you so much for this space. We're really learning a lot, in as much as I don't, understand like half of what you guys discuss sometimes, but the ones that I do understand, I try to understand too.
Let me get Fred NG. Fred NG, what's up?
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm doing very well, sir. Go ahead.
Thanks. I mean, I've been a follower of your page for a while now. I've always been at your space.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your patience and diligence trying to break things down, And my question, I really want to ask, I don't know if it's related, but, in a hyperinflationary environment like what we're probably experiencing now, I don't know if we could say it's hyperinflationary yet, but what's the best way to preserve your capital? I mean, let's say you have some money now. What's actually the easiest, I'm not so the easiest, but what's the, advisable way to just keep your capital and just ensure, monies that you have, you really don't have any use for it right now, right away? How do you kind of keep it and just be sure that, have a decent kind of safety on it?
I mean, it depends on how long you want to keep it for, and if you are not worried about if you want to get the value back or if you want to grow the value. Those are the two questions we'll ask. How long do you want to keep it?
No, I'm even just saying, let's say maybe a year. It's a short time frame of like, a year is still fairly short. Say a year. I'm not even interested in investing it, but let me just be sure at least it maintains a reasonable, still the same purchasing power.
So go buy any treasury bill issued by the federal government of Nigeria. That will guarantee that you get it back after 1 year, guaranteed. Like a treasury bill is for 91 days, but ask your banker, say you want to buy a 1 year treasury certificate from the federal government, they'll give you one.
360 days.
That will guarantee that you get your principal back. I'm not guaranteeing inflation, but to guarantee you get your principal back.
Yeah, it's inflation that I'm actually worried about. Because a million naira now in 1 year, if we're having this 18-20% inflation, it's not going to be exactly the same thing at the end of 1 year.
Yeah, so the point is that if you want to retain your money, you have to take risk. Sorry, if you want to retain your money, you're not taking any risk, you buy treasury bills. They will give you back your money, but it will not beat inflation. If you want to grow your money, then you have got to take risk, which means you don't buy treasury bills or bonds, you buy equity or commodities or something else that can grow, but you are taking risk. No free lunch. You see where I'm going?
Yeah, I get your point. I always thought about.
I mean, you can buy. Lots of people bought dollars fixed income savings in Nigeria. I think we brought FCMB a long time ago to the forum here, and lots of people bought dollar ETF shares, and those guys must have been making a killing right now.
Yeah, right now.
When they bought that dollar, it was 400 and something. Now dollar is 1,000. So so that's the whole idea, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so they appreciate their capital is appreciating plus they're having their returns. So that was a good investment.
Yep. So that's the way you want to. It's your call. What do you want to do? You want to keep what you have or grow what you have? Whatever you answer, then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Or growing it involves some risk, which could be good, possibly you could get high returns or you could lose to if the reverse is the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. All right, bro.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. All right, Diri, do I have you back, Mr. Diri? Your audio was going off. Do I have you back now?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now, sir?
Yes.
I'll just jump right to the question, so I'm going to take you back a bit. There was someone here that had a problem. He borrowed in USD. He borrowed in USD and he's paying back in Naira because of the inflation. So you said something about hedging of funds. I would like you to just kind of summarize it or explain it to me like I'm 10 or something. What hedging means or
Yeah, I mean, when you are hedging, it's like you're trying to protect the value of something. You're trying to buy what we call a derivative to protect the value of something. So in Nigeria, let's say I want to invest in Nigeria from abroad and I bring my dollars to Nigeria. So I convert dollar to Nigeria and I buy Naira. I also want to go out. But when I want to go out in 3 years' time, I don't know the price of dollar. It's possible to go to a bank and say, can you guys sell me a derivative that would say that whatever happens, I can buy dollar from you at this price in future. So there's actually a market for that. I think FMDQ quote those rates. If you go to Twitter at FMDQ, you can see the quote for say 3, 4, 5 years to buy dollar. So if I bring my dollar in, I can hedge by saying, oh, in 3 years, I want to buy dollar at this price. If I buy that hedge, what I'm saying is that it's like buying insurance. I'm saying that if I pay the insurance premium, I have the option, but not the obligation to buy dollar at the rate I've paid to the bank. So if those guys had done that, they would have maybe bought their dollar at maybe 600. So if dollar had gone up to 1,000, they will still buy their dollar at the same 600. That's called a hedge. But what if dollar did not go up? Then they lose their premium that they pay to the bank. So when you do the hedge, you are paying for the rights, but not the obligation to execute a transaction. In which case, this could be that you want to buy dollar in advance at that price. That's called hedging. There are many ways to hedge. That's why I asked him if I had a CFO. If you have a CFO, there are many ways they can tell you how to hedge a position so that if it goes south, you are covered. If you notice the banks in Nigeria, if you notice what happened when we devalued the Naira, so many companies in Nigeria made a huge loss on dollar, but so many companies made a huge profit on dollar as well because those guys hedged, the other guys didn't hedge. That's what's going on. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm satisfied with
Yeah, try. You have to do more research on it. I can't explain so much, but try to do research on it, and you see the markets are already in Nigeria. It's not a new thing, but do more research. FMDQ, do forward rates. FMDQ, you actually see the market and the quotes right there, and then you can take it from there. All right, bro. Thanks so much. Great question. Tax help. I've got you, sir. Go ahead. I think we've got tax help, then we've got Edison, and then we'll call it today. Tax help, going once, going twice. Edison, you're going to be our last guy.
So, yeah, good evening, sir.
Edison, what's happening? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm fine, sir. I call you Professor Kalu. I started following you last month, and I think it's my best decision last month. So my question, hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, What do you have to say about cryptocurrency in terms of investment? I just want to get your take on it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, all those things. We've had a long history with crypto. I was not a believer, then I was a believer. Now I'm not a believer anymore. Cryptocurrency is just take away the technology. It's speculation. We are speculating that the value of this asset will rise in future. So we're buying today. That's what crypto is, nothing else. Whatever anyone tells you, it's a speculation on the future price of crypto. Why do we think the price of crypto will go up? Because of scarcity. So right now, if you take away Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum that has some utility, i.e. operational utility, the bulk of cryptos are all promises that the price will go up in future because the utility will go up in future. So we're buying today to hold, to hopefully to sell tomorrow. That's what we're doing with cryptocurrencies and all that. It makes sense if you think about it because cryptos make more sense than fiat. They don't inflate. They are better efficiency than fiat. The only problem with crypto is this government thing. Crypto people will tell you every time we're going to replace fiat. That's how they go into trouble. If crypto had simply kept their mouth shut and simply gotten this technology everywhere that everybody was using crypto, then the government will not have noticed them. But they were trying to go against the government to replace fiat. I'll give you examples. Look at Facebook. Facebook was going to do a new currency. Do you know what that would have meant? That would have meant that on WhatsApp, I can pay somebody in Brazil, anywhere in the world, by just using my WhatsApp. I just send you money, WhatsApp money, Facebook money, DM, or whatever Zuckerberg would call it. What would you think will happen to banks? Banks would have all died. What about the dollar? Dollar won't have survived because now you can trade and transact using Mark Zuckerberg's cash, not dollar. So of course the US shut him down. Same thing with crypto. Crypto is better in my view than fiat because you can't have inflation, you can transfer cheaply. But when you tell the US or Nigeria that you are going to create a product that will destroy the dollar or the naira, our ability or the government's ability to print deficit financing, of course they'll fight you. And that's what they've done. So Nigeria has banned it. US is harassing them all over the place. Look at all the banks that were closed. Signature Bank, the guy that runs the board chairman of Signature Bank in New York, Barney Frank. Not Silicon Valley, not Silicon, Signature, the one in New York. That Barney Frank is the one that wrote this Dodd-Frank rules that we read about. He was the guy there. He said it was closed because they were close to crypto. So the government doesn't like them. No government likes crypto. None. China has their own currency, but that's from the state. That's the state-owned crypto. America doesn't like crypto. Nigeria doesn't like crypto. UK, EU. I've not seen one country apart from El Salvador and Central African Republic that likes crypto. Why? Because it's a threat to them. So the biggest threat for crypto is regulatory, that they will regulate it out of existence. And if that threat remains, it can never become a viable asset class. That's the problem with crypto, nothing else, just this government wahala. So if the government would allow them to stay, then it's a good asset class to buy and hold. That's just the problem. It doesn't mean you can't make money off it, but you're making money with the mind that government can wake up tomorrow and ban it. Like they did in China. That's the problem with crypto.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. Then the last thing, how can I buy the hard copy of your book?
Amazon.
Okay, so when I pay Amazon, sends it to because I reside in Benin City, those state, Nigeria.
I don't. That's the thing. I brought a lot of copies. I ordered a lot of copies, and I did it in Nigeria and distributed it. But I haven't done it in a while. It's just the time to do it. You have to print it, give it to. I was using Roving Books, and they were very, very good. So I just don't have the time to print it, send to Nigeria, and sell. So for now, Amazon. But yeah, if someone wants to print the books and sell, I don't know. But for now, Amazon. Yeah, that's where I am right now with that. Sorry about that. Get your friend in Amazon to send it to you, and I would appreciate that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, so isn't you the last guy? I don't know if do you have anything you still had us up before I close on the space?
Yes, I had a very weird question I was going to ask. So it was another topic we were thinking because Warren Buffett, he's got this idea of when people are running out is the best time to run in. So I've got two questions for you. The first question will lay foundation for the second question. So the first question is, do you think that dollar to naira exchange rate would ever come back to, let's say, 800 naira to dollar?
It can even go lower than that if the right policies are implemented. If you implement the right policies, it can go to 400 per dollar. There's nothing keeps it at 1,000. It's big confidence. 1-2 policies, it will go back to even 500.
Good. So if there are signs, or you believe, or you have high appetite for taking risk, do you think it's wise to start buying naira, putting it in the money market, and waiting?
It depends on what you think is going to happen. I mean, you are asking, your question really is saying that, do you think the economic reforms of the administration would improve export trade and bring in macroeconomic stability? That's your question. If you think that is going to happen, yes, it will happen. The naira strength is based on one main thing: crude oil. Not just crude oil prices, but crude oil exports. The Nigerian market has not been able to export crude oil from the time of Buhari till today. We have not been able to secure the ports and export crude oil. That's the problem we're having, the exports. So if I see that the president hires some, maybe he goes and hires from America, wasn't one of those goes BlackRock, is it BlackRock or those Prince, what's that Prince? He has some high class mercenary unit to say, I give you permission to go to Niger Delta and to stop the illegal whatever of crude oil. If he does that, then crude oil exports go up maybe by 25%. Then he cleans up the corruption there, so he gets more dollars flowing in. Then he boosts non-oil exports, boosts it. He's able to do more services. Then you have dollars flowing in. Maybe he does FDI. Maybe he goes and he talks to Nigerians abroad. They increase their remittances by 100%, which means we have 50 billion coming into Nigeria. He is able to get FDI flowing back into Nigeria. Egypt just did 16 billion in 1 year. Egypt. So Nigeria can do something like that, right? If he does all these things in, say, 18 months, why would the dollar be at 1,000? The dollar will crash. It will crash. And you see, the problem with dollar crashing is based on expectations. If people believe the dollar will crash, it will crash. So when it starts to crash, it will crash faster than it went up. So if you see these signs happening, then that's when you go buy it. Warren Buffett doesn't run in when the building is catching fire. He runs in when he sees the building catching fire and he sees the fire service coming. Then he goes in. If you just run in and buy an asset because it's falling, you're trying to catch a falling knife. It will cut you. So you want to make sure that you've seen the value. That's why he's a value investor. To see value means you have your own intrinsic price. So it means you have already calculated that the dollar to naira is X amount. Hence, when you see that dollar amount go higher than your intrinsic price, you know it is overpriced. Hence, you are now going the opposite direction to catch it when it reverses. But if Nigeria is not doing exports, and we're not doing services, and our macroeconomic indicators are very, very weak, then dollar is going to just keep on going up, not down. So there's no point buying the naira. It's really a consequence of policy. The exchange rate is the report card of the policy, not the other way around. You don't fix your exchange rate and then the macroeconomic variables fix themselves. You fix macroeconomic variables and the exchange rate gets fixed.
Thank you very much, Alan. Thank you.
All right, folks. So we spent about a long time here, 2 hours, 18 minutes, just talking. I was going to do core personal finance today. We're talking debt. We said debt is front-loaded consumption. We said good debt, bad debt. Good debt is the debt that the payments on the debt stop or are shorter than the utility of the asset that you're buying. Talk about APR, annual percentage rate, what it means. Don't ask for interest rates, ask for APR so you can compare and see which loan is cheaper for you, right? How do you use loan? You want to use loans to accumulate, right? Cheap loans to accumulate and to build up your assets. If there's inflation, it makes sense for you to hold assets rather than cash. So if you are borrowing and you're paying back the inflated naira, might make sense for you. Talk about FICO, credit score, and how to get a credit scoring up, pay on time, and also keep your utilization low. Don't borrow to start a business, right? Borrow to do working capital. But for the business, try to use equity, friends and family, savings, seed, patient capital than borrowing. We talked all about that. Then we also talked about lots of questions, high APRs, how to avoid debt traps and all that. So it's been a good session. We did a very, very long time here. Next week, I'm going to try to bring in a guy to talk about IT. If it doesn't come, we'll do another session on financial planning and all that, right? So let me just end by also plugging my book. I did write this book. Let's talk about your money. It's available on Amazon. And I want you to get it because it's going to help you really. Yeah, I think it's a very, very good book. If I had to recommend a book, I would recommend that one. 23 chapters, lots of books, lots of pages, lots of color, lots of diagrams to explain stuff to you. I've talked about everything there, from crypto to debt to investing to private equity to raising finance to writing a business plan to biases, really to everything is in that book. My experience over the years, I put it in one place. And you don't have to read each other the chapter. You can buy it and read it in read if you want to know about stocks, read the stock part. If you want to know about crypto, read the crypto part. Very, very good book. Working on the audio version right now. And once we're done with the audio version, we'll try to do the video version so folks can just watch it and see chapters and all that kind of stuff. So good stuff coming along, right? So let's get that going. You've got to learn stuff to invest stuff. Don't invest what you don't know about. You lose money. Before you invest, know what you're doing. Same way you can't watch football without knowing the rules. Don't invest without knowing the rules. And if you do that, you're going to turn out good. All right, folks, time to go. You guys go enjoy the rest of your weekend. Mondays are my best days of the week. Go out and make it happen for yourselves. And I'll see you guys here next week, same time, 7 p.m. West African time. On that note, guys, take care. See you all, and bye.